There we go. What's up, buddy?
Hey!
Great to have you here. Otakon 2024. Brandon,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure.
I'm happy to be here. This is my first year.
It's so weird because your name is, you're one of the best voice actors in the game. And I'm
thank
like, I'm checking my content. I'm like, have I ever spoke to him at Otakon? I was like, no, I haven't.
No.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very
Now
excited
you're
to be
amongst
here.
the elite now.
Oh, yeah. I've made it. I'm an Otakon.
But what has the experience been like coming into DC, your first Otakon? I know this the first day before all the craziness, but thus far, how's the journey been?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I love seeing the crowds.
Yeah.
Just walking over from the hotel and just seeing the crowds is really exciting. I love to see the cosplay because I briefly cosplayed for 3 months as a character I voice.
Yeah.
And it was rough. It was very difficult. It was hard. So I have very high respect for the cosplayers.
Oh, yes. Let's get right to that.
Yeah.
Who was it?
It was
Why?
Sir Night Eye. It was Sir Night Eye. And I didn't plan on doing it. I have some friends who are professional cosplayers, and they encouraged me to. They were like, "You must. We'll fly down. We'll fly in and help you." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I did, and it was fun.
With over 120 voice acting roles, and that's what the internet says. So where do you kind of land at on that number? What number you sort of land at?
For
voice acting roles.
Oh, number of voice acting roles?
Yeah.
I think on IMDb I'm up to like 160 something. It's a lot.
What does that mean when you actually like sit back and think about it?
Oh gosh. It's weird. I feel like I've lived so many lives.
Yeah.
Whenever I leave this mortal coil, I'm gonna sit there and go like, I did a lot.
Yeah. I've been thinking upon prepping for this interview, I was like, which way do I go with this? But with that many credits, I wonder, and you could either make this as deep as you want or as light as you want, but with so many, with you giving your voice to so many other characters, when have you found your voice? When did you sort of establish this is who you are?
Ooh, that's a great question. I was very, very lucky to sort of deep dive into acting studies right before I got started. And I actually trained for on-camera acting. And before that, it was musical theater. And musical theater is very stylized and big, But on camera is very true to life and grounded, so grounded.
Yeah.
It all comes from like your experience and your voice. And, you're bringing all of yourself to a role, generally, for most on-camera work.
Yeah.
And so when I started working in the booth, that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
So for a few years there at the beginning, I thought, well, I don't have a very wide range as a voice actor because it's just my voice. It's just me.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was very true to life from the beginning, and then I sort of played and branched out and eventually started doing crazy roles like Gyutaro and Demon Slayer. But for me, there's a little bit of me in every single role, every single one.
That's amazing. My other question I wanted to ask, because this seems to be a question I never asked, but I somehow, some way get an answer to this. Going through the pandemic, going through how technology continues to revolutionize and obviously makes your job at times easier or maybe even more challenging. Who knows?
Depends,
Let's start off with, where has been the craziest place you have had to do a recording at? And the reason I bring that up is because during the pandemic, folks like, I stayed at my studio in the back of my closet and pillow myself in to avoid my kids. I've heard so many different stories. But for you, what has been one of the craziest places you've recorded?
Oh, that is a great question. Most of my crazy recording stories are for auditions.
Yeah.
Luckily. I'm very, very lucky in that when the pandemic started, Michael, my husband, J. Michael Tatum, and I had a very professional level recording booth in our house that's like separate, standalone. It's got like a 300-pound door on it that ka-chunk, and you feel the pressure change, But that was because we got it for different reasons. I do music production, so I wanted it to like produce music and sing and record in, and Michael wanted it for VO. And this was closer to the beginning of when I was voice acting, so I really didn't have any designs on making it a career or anything like that. It was kind of a hobby for me. But at the time, I was working as a software engineer, and so I had a little bit of disposable income, and I was like, hey, let's get this booth. It'll be good for you. You can do your auditions in it. I can record music. Yeah. And so we just had a recording booth in our house, which was like very, very lucky and very nice, and like I feel very privileged to have that, you know. So the pandemic starts and everything shuts down, right? All of these studios suddenly have to figure out how to record remotely. How do you dub anime remotely? You know, it's a difficult problem. And our booth was one of the tester booths for trying out different methods of doing that with Funimation, now Crunchyroll. So we use a program called Source Connect now, and mine was the first session to test it and sort of like shop it to the producers. It was wild. It was wild. A director called me from Funimation that I know very well and said like, "Hey, Brandon, can you help me out? I'm trying to shop this to a producer. Will you hop on a call and just dub something with me?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, yeah." But sort of an unexpected effect of having that booth was suddenly our contacts in Los Angeles started reaching out saying, "Hey, can you read on this? Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this?" Because space is at such a premium in LA.
Yeah.
So a lot of voice actors in Los Angeles didn't have booths at home. They didn't have much space, you know? They would just record it on their phone or record it on a small setup that's not broadcast quality because you don't need that for auditions. And suddenly we have these casting directors and producers reaching out and saying, "Hey, can you read on this?" One of them was Blizzard for World of Warcraft.
Wow.
And that was what made me eligible to join the union was World of Warcraft reached out to my Dallas agent, and my Dallas agent contacts me and says, Brandon, Blizzard wants to work with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, I'm very happy. Thank you so much." That was the most nerve-wracking session of my life because I was like, "Oh my gosh." And the director studied at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London, and had this like gorgeous UK accent. And like he did stage in the West End for years. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why am I here? Why am I I'm like, oh my gosh. And that was like maybe 6 months into the pandemic. And Michael and I decided to move from Dallas to LA in like September, October-ish of that year, and it was a good move.
That's an amazing.
That's wild, right?
That's everything right there. So many thoughts from that. First of all, amazing tax write-off there because business.
Oh yeah. Yes.
You might even want to have slid an ad there, like need a recording booth. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
But what is your thoughts? I mean, because whether you want to call it ego or not, but like to be so ahead of the curve in an unprecedented time where everybody is shambling. What am I going to do? How am I going to make income? Even people who are actors in front of the cameras realizing that there is a world, a career, voice acting, which I got to say as a fan, I don't know if this ruffled any feathers, but I felt a certain type of way because I'm like, y'all are stepping in, you know, this is very sacred grounds here. These folks have been voice acting their entire life. This is what they do. And now people are like, looked at it as like a fallback because they couldn't go to work normally. But you were already ahead of the curve, had the booth set up, obviously probably had multiple friends needing it, probably got some people some jobs, and obviously brokered some bigger deals for you. So like, let's just say like, how was it for you to know that, had that wherewithal?
Well, I honestly just felt very privileged. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, wow, this is super lucky. I feel so lucky that we have this. Oh my gosh, you know. So I did have friends that would come over and record things like that. I felt super bad for my on-camera friends, you know, because their work was just and suddenly instead of normally on-camera auditions before the pandemic, you'd go in and you'd meet the producer and the casting director and you would do your thing and they could see you in like real life. But suddenly all of them had to start auditioning through Zoom and sending in tapes for everything. And it's still like that to this day, which I think we've lost something very important with that. But I was glad that the voiceover industry was able to continue because there were a lot of on-camera actors that started doing VO and were able to get some work, which made me happy. I'm like, that's good. I was happy to see there's a show called Centaur World that I love. It's on Netflix. I'm not in it. I'm not connected to it, but I am a fan of the show. It had a bunch of Broadway talent in it. So I don't know if it recorded during the pandemic. It was kind of like around that time that I got into the show. So I think I was so happy that we had VO during the pandemic because that industry flourished and was still going on. We were still affected because there weren't conventions and stuff.
Exactly. As a fan, obviously, we want you all, and we continue to root for you all, that you all get your flowers. This is why the conventions mean so much, is because people know the characters, they know the voice, who's the face, and then couple of flyers, some promoting. It's like, oh my God, I love that person. Oh my God, they're connected to so many other folks that I love. And I think you all deserve that because, yeah, the biggest thing to take away from all of this is that during the pandemic and an unprecedented time, at very dangerous yet scary times, you all continue to work.
Yeah.
You gave us entertainment. You also gave us hope that the world would return to normal where everything shut down, that you all were still doing it. And you, my friend, get an extra chip on your shoulder for being a pioneer, being prepared for the end of the earth here.
I suppose we were prepared, yeah.
Well, nobody can ever deny that you gave your blood, sweat, and tears for this career.
Absolutely.
So Otakon here, like this is a con that a lot of us here in the DC area, we really hold close to our hearts. It's been around for many years.
Was it 30th year this year, right? That's so exciting.
Mm-hmm. And it's done one relocation from Baltimore to DC, and now they just garner so much more space because so many more fans are piling in. Can you talk about your plans for the rest of the week here? What else are you getting into? What are some activities in DC you're excited
Oh my gosh,
for?
I don't. Activities in DC. I think I'm just doing the con. I really wish I was staying for a few days.
Better get some food.
Yeah. Oh, do you have any recommendations?
I got you.
Okay.
I'll take care of
Yeah.
you.
We'll talk. I came to DC a few times as a kid. I come to DC every once in a while. One of my favorite things here is the Smithsonian.
Absolutely.
I'm a science nerd.
Absolutely.
I really actually like their gem collection, like precious metals and stuff, because they're just pretty.
Yeah.
They're just cool looking, and you learn like the different types of rock. I was a big like gem and rock nerd when I was like 6, 7, 8, and I was like, I want to go to the Smithsonian and see the Hope Diamond. Like I don't know, I was a little kid. I want to go see the Hope Diamond. So that's what I think of when I'm here. I'm like, oh, the Hope Diamond. Let's go see it in the Smithsonian. But yeah, it's cool. I can see the Washington Monument from our hotel room, and it's neat to think that like this is where we are. That this convention is in the same place where like the logistics of our country are run from, which seems like a very large job, and I'm very glad it's not my responsibility because it seems very difficult.
Your partner in J. Michael Tatum, another well-known voice actor and so well respected within the community. What is that friendly competition at home? How do you all tend to elevate one another?
What a wonderful question. Thank you for that question. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of competition between us. He's more baritone, I'm more tenor.
Okay.
So I'm still reading for those younger anime voice roles, you know. Yeah. And he's starting to do some of the more like the tough video game gruffer voice acting roles, as well as his perfect British accent, the butler roles, right? But it is really fun having a partner who's an actor because we can. Many times if we get a big audition, right, and we're feeling kind of nervous about it, and we want a second opinion, we can always get one. We're like, hey babe, come listen to this. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a legend in this industry, so I feel very lucky that he's willing to listen to my auditions and be like, this is good, or maybe try this. And I'm like, thank you. Okay, yes, I will.
Amazing.
It's fun.
And talk about the safe space that you all create for one another to have these difficult conversations. At the end of the day, there is your career, and criticism is something we all should invite, but it is sometimes difficult to want to do so, especially with how important some of these roles are for us, or just how much we just love what we do. But talk about the safe space you two create for one another.
Well, I think the hardest part about acting is not developing the skill set, because I truly feel that anyone can develop the skill set of acting and like being true to oneself and living truthfully in imaginary circumstances and all that. It's like drawing. Yeah. That's why it's called being an artist, right? I mean, it is a skill that you can develop. And sure, some level of talent may put you in a different place at the starting point, but developing the skills, I truly think, is the same for anyone. Yeah. Disappointment is something you have to get very used to, and criticism especially. You have to be so comfortable with criticism to make it in this career. I feel very lucky in that my previous career was software engineering, and that's the same between the two. Criticism, because when you start as a junior engineer and you write your code and you submit it as a pull request, a senior engineer is going to go through and eviscerate every single change you make, and that was actually harder than like learning how to be okay with criticism and acting. I feel like that trained me, and then I just shuffled it over, And so I'm very lucky that I never have had any problems with criticism. But yeah, you have to be very vulnerable in acting. So it's really nice to have a partner who you can have to sort of get that opinion and criticism from, because it elevates you. You know,
I'll say I have a master's in software engineering, so I relate with you on those sentiments. Okay,
we'll talk after. Yeah.
Let's talk about something. And before we go any further, I just want to make sure it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to discuss AI.
Yeah, we can talk
and what's
about
happening in the world.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's interesting as an ex-software engineer. You know.
Yes, there's it's a twofold thing. There's a lot of dangers in the artistry of what you've done, and obviously we are aware that voice actors are striking for this because we want our lovely talent across the world to continue to get their jobs and threatened by AI. And then on the other side here, especially within the technical side, we see that there are advantages and benefits to AI. What's sort of been your mindset? We'll just talk about it on the technological side at first. What's been sort of your thoughts about AI in the world today?
Well, I think there absolutely is a danger that it could eviscerate jobs for creatives, right? Just number one, that is my largest concern.
Yeah, I love the word eviscerate. By the way.
Just destroy completely, you know. And that isn't to say I don't think there are important uses for it, and I think that it can really elevate our industry. But I think the biggest concern I have is generative AI specifically. Yeah. I really wish that the terms that we saw in the media were more precise, because there is a difference between generative AI and like other types of AI. Language learning models, LLMs, don't have to be used specifically for generative AI. There's one type of AI that I think is very useful, and it is in the program Adobe Audition.
Yeah, okay.
If you are recording a long-form podcast, right, you record like 2 hours of content. You can use an LLM-trained AI model to transcribe the whole thing, and it just shows up on the right side of the screen. And then if you want to edit out a part, you highlight it and delete it. And that's amazing. Think of how much time that's saving us. Is that destroying any jobs? No, it's saving us time. That's what it should be for. So, of course, businesses are going to try to leverage as everything as possible for shareholders, which is just how it is objectively, right? That's what they want. But I think I genuinely believe that all of us as people, as individuals, have a right to our own voice, our own likeness, and our own image. There's actually right now SAG-AFTRA and NAVA, I believe it's North American Voice Actors, North American Voice Actors. They are pushing a bill in Congress right now called the No Fakes Act to give all of us the right to our own voice and likeness. And I feel so strongly that that should be a thing. Just as like a human rights thing, we should all have that. And so, that is why SAG is striking video games right now, and hopefully we can come to a resolution. I genuinely have met so many producers and studios who don't want to screw over voice actors. They don't. And so they're more than happy to sign an interim agreement that says, like, we're not going to AI your voices, or if we do, let's talk about it and let's come to a solution. So I actually feel very hopeful in this moment about it.
Yeah, I was at San Diego Comic-Con last week, and Nava was there speaking about it, and that definitely gave me a sigh of relief because, you know, as much as I support and in solidarity of the writers and the actors, you know, again, when we talk about voice actors, this small, very sacred community sometimes gets overlooked, and I was extremely worried that they weren't going to get the same love and attention that the other unions had recently received. So it's good to know that everyone's talking, but it seems like that, you know, this should be a resolution. We hope to land to make sure that you all are protected and have the benefits that you all deserve, that you could continue to keep doing what we love and
thank you
so much.
I hope.
So what is next? Because at this rate, I mean, you're striking on all cylinders. All is well, making your Otakon debut, which, by the way, once you come here, you end up staying here. It's a cult. But nonetheless, what are some things that you are working on, whether it's voice acting or anything sort of, you know, close projects?
Thank you so much. I've got a few things that I wish I could talk about right now. I'm just under NDA, waiting for them to be announced. I'm like, but it's good. I'm very excited about it. When it gets announced, when it gets announced, I will talk about it all over the place. But until then, I can talk about my music.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of music. I've been producing music. It's just been a hobby of mine for years.
Yeah.
And I've over the past few years, I've started producing more and more.
Yeah.
I've done some little projects here and there. My most recent one, like if you look up my name on Spotify, you'll find it. YouTube, it's all there. I have been covering some popular English songs in Japanese, actually. I covered Welcome to the Black Parade with Caleb Hiles in Japanese. I covered Avril Lavigne's Skater Boy.
Really?
Yeah. I covered Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero in Japanese as well. You should check it out.
I absolutely will. Wow. Man, time is coming up. I got so many more
That was my
questions
undergrad degree, was Japanese, and I lived in Tokyo and worked as a translator for a tech company for a little over a year.
That's amazing.
Another life, you know.
And you talk about J. Michael being the icon. Look at you here.
Oh, thank you.
But I mean, nonetheless, you two are both amazing, and the sky is the limit at this rate. You to come back to music has to be so special to you, considering that's initially where your heart was at. Voice acting kind of landing on your lap, and you're going back to it. So, is it safe to say, for my final question, are you living in the happiest moment of your life?
I am, actually. Yeah, I wake up every morning and get to live with my husband and my 2 French bulldogs, and I just get to vibe, and I get to act and make music and be creative and go to conventions. I feel very lucky. I feel very, very lucky, and I am happy. So thank you for that question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today. Enjoy Otakon. I'll see you back in 365 days, okay?
Oh, I hope so. Well, thank you so much for interviewing me.
Absolutely.
Nigeria, this has been a wonderful interview, and I hope you have a wonderful Otakon as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.